hot, 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 fire. Miami's hot, 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 fire. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Mountain Nostalgic Runner. Yes, the lighting is slightly different today. I literally just got done talking to my therapist and I was already seated here, basically doing a Zoom call, and now we're here. And but that's not why we're here. We're not here to discuss me and my therapy of it all. We're here to discuss the new season of the Real Housewives of Miami. Miami's hot, hot. Season 7, episode 1. And when I tell you the girls are back, the girls are back. I'm so glad they're back. I'm glad they're back. You can tell the difference between already about how I feel about this versus, unfortunately, Atlanta. It's night and day. So for those who have not been watching Miami, I need you to get up on that and watch Miami and support the girls, because this was a good season. I think we're in for a treat. I think this is going to be an amazing season. I think them taking that mini break that they took done them some good, because we're getting more story. More has happened. They have more things to talk about. And maybe some of the other girlies need to do that too, versus just hopping back into it. And I actually like that they did this. So anyway, let's get into the episode. A lot happened, so I don't want to waste your time with the pleasantries of it all. So let's start with Alexia. So they show this clip initially at the very beginning of the episode where they show Alexia and Todd getting married. And they got married 2 seasons ago. So season 5, they got married. And now fast forward, they kind of go over what happened via the vlogs and all them getting, basically divorcing. And we see that Larsa and Lisa are reacting to it because they're just shocked. Everyone's shocked by the news. And then we have Adriana and Kiki reacting to it. One thing about Adriana is she is kind of a hater, but she's a lovable hater. I'm just gonna keep it real. Adriana is a hater, and she does it every season, but she's just that right amount, what you just need. And Larsa is insufferable, but she's good for TV. All the girls on this show understand the assignment. Like, you can't really get rid of any of them. And Larsa is okay with being the villain. So we need someone that's like that. And anyway, but back to Adriana and Kiki. Adriana's like, yeah, I guess I was right. Because Adriana was on their relationship's neck last season, saying all this, that, and this, and that. And side note, before we really, really get into the reaction of it all, Bravo, why is Kiki not full-time? I'm going to say it every single episode. That is my goal. Every single episode, I'm going to say, why is Kiki not full-time? We need Kiki full-time as a housewife. Unless she doesn't want it, which I don't believe that, because she said that multiple times that she wants it. Make Kiki full-time. I need Gertie. I need the dynamic duo of Gertie and Kiki, the 2 Haitian sisters. Like, I need it. We had the 2 Cuban dolls. Let's have the 2 Haitian sisters on the other side. Like, do it, Bravo. Anyway, I digress, but just know, I'm going to say that every single episode. Y'all going to get sick of it. I don't care. I'm still going to say it every episode. Moving on. And then we see Alexia, Julia, and Marisol talking about it. And Alexia is just basically distraught. She's in tears. She said that basically Todd was slowly moving his stuff out of there to the point where so she didn't even realize this was happening. Got an apartment behind her back. And then one day she wakes up in the morning and all his stuff is gone. Like, he cleaned out the place and he's moved out. And he did all this in front of Frankie. And for those who know Alexia, you already know she don't play about her boys, especially Frankie, because Frankie's a special need one. And, you know, with him being potentially, because I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Frankie's issues is because, you know, he had that car accident. But as a result, he kind of is somewhat like on the spectrum of it all. And so anytime you're dealing with someone that has that kind of situation going on, change just out of nowhere, no bueno. No bueno. And so she's just distraught about it. And then she finds out, then they meet up again, and he basically presents a divorce to her, that he wants a divorce. And she is just kind of like, you know, distraught in tears. And I don't remember if it was Julia or Marisol, but they're asking, did Todd ever treat your kids good? And they rolled the bean footage, and he was trying to be stepdad of the year overnight, and not in a good way. Because at the end of the day, both of Alexia's kids they're adults. They're both adult children. Now, I forgot the other son's name, the one who's a little bit the troublemaker. He didn't take too kindly to any of that stuff, but I do think he needs guidance too, but not in the way that Todd was doing it. He kind of came on too strong when he was doing all that. And so, of course, Alexia did not take too kindly to how he would handle things with the kids. And so she kind of said, no, he was never really good when it came to all that. But at the same time, Alexia was a habitual coddler, to the point where last season we saw that Alexia was actually actively trying to remedy that issue of her being a coddler with Frankie, because it was actually stopping Frankie from being able to progress of being independent. And so Alexia is aware of it. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of where we leave off at. And then they go into like 2 weeks later, I think was the timeline. They show Alexia, because the news breaks about them actually getting the divorce through the media. And Alexia is talking to her Jersey twin, Teresa. I'm not the only one that thinks that. I feel like Alexia and Teresa, they look like they are family members. They look so much alike. Like, to me, Alexia is just like the blonde version of Teresa. Teresa is a brunette version of Alexia, to the point where Louis, I think, allegedly was trying to talk to Alexia, but Alexia already had Todd at the time. And allegedly. Like, that's what I've heard. But I just say that because they look like they could be related. I'm not the only one that thinks that. Anyway, but basically she was consoling Teresa Giudice about everything on the phone. I'm like, man, Teresa, for as much as Jersey's on the hiatus, she's all over Bravo TV between her and her between this little mini cameo and then the Gen X show with like her daughter. But anyway. And then lastly, we see that Alexia is talking to the rest of the ladies and just crying and in tears about the whole situation. And I believe this timeline of her crying and all that, don't quote me, but I feel like this is originally when Miami would have been filming the first, because Miami, as I mentioned, went on a little bit of a mini hiatus between season 6 and this season. Which I'm glad they did, because it seems like they have way more story now, and they wouldn't have had all that if they would have just went back to filming immediately. So I think everything that's happening within this time frame that they're presenting to you would have been when they would have been filming, if they would have continued the way they were filming before. So just some added context to that. And basically all the ladies want her to be able to move on and be done with the situation. We're going to see shortly. Ain't going to go that way. Anyway, moving on. So then fast forward, we have, it's 5 months later, and we have Marisol and Alexia. They're meeting up. Alexia looks nice and refreshed. She looks way better than how she was looking. And they're waiting to meet up with Lisa, but they're just talking about Lenny. Because also new news that occurred is Lenny broke off her engagement. Sorry, his engagement. Might as well be that. We don't like Lenny over here. No, I don't think anyone does. Lenny is just not a likable person. Lenny, for those who haven't been watching the show, Lenny is Lisa's ex-husband who basically made her life a living hell the past couple seasons. Not a good person. And I think he's, they lived in they lived on Star Island, close to where Diddy used to have a place at. Just saying. Anyway, but Lenny basically, the other woman that was basically cheating on, so Lisa was getting cheated on by this other woman that Lenny was with, and they were engaged. And basically the engagement is done, it's over with, it ended. And Marisol is concerned that Lisa might go back to Lenny after everything's all said and done. And but we find out shortly Marisol has nothing to worry about with Lisa, has everything to worry about when it comes to her own friend, Alexia. And then Marisol switches focus very quickly before Lisa gets there. It was like, well, I saw that you and Todd went on vacation together kind of recently. What's that about? And I found out through the media and you didn't tell me. Why is that? And again, for those who are new to the show, Marisol and Alexia, they're the BFFs. They're kind of like the Robin and Giselle of the Real Housewives of Miami. They're the Cuban dolls. So they're like this, and have been from day one, basically. And they're both part of like the original cast of the Real Housewives of Miami. They're both the old, along with Lisa. Lisa's the old G2. Side note, that's another thing that I really wish Bravo would just look at what they did with Miami and for all the other reboots and just do the same thing. Because the way they did this reboot, ever since they've been back on, it's been hidden. I'm just saying. But anyway, I digress. Shortly after that, Lisa does join them, and Lisa, so basically they regurgitate what they were saying because they put a pin in basically Alexia confessing, yeah, I'm dealing with Todd again. So basically after she did all that whining and complaining, they kind of they're somewhat reconciled at this moment. And that's her husband. That's her estranged husband. So they're reconciled for the moment. And but Lisa joins them, and they're all like, did you hear the news about Lenny? She's like, yeah, Lenny has reached, and she just says right away, she's like, yeah, Lenny's reached out to me, wants to get back with me. And then she was like, and they're like, you're not gonna get back with him, are you? And they're all like, she's like, I kid, hell no. I was like, I know that's right, Lisa. Move on, don't ever look back. Because I feel like last season, even though Lisa was completely annoying as all get out and insufferable, she was going through that because she didn't have a voice for so long, being in that voiceless, loveless marriage. And now she is a man who loves up on her, who respects her on paper. She needs to stick with that and just keep it pushing. And so then, speaking of that, she mentions, so it's going to be Jody's birthday, and I'm throwing a birthday party. And then it switches focus really quickly, and they're just like, so what's going on with you and Larsa? Because the other two that have usually been the thickest thieves friends has been Larsa and Lisa. And Larsa is upset with Lisa at this moment. Because what we find out is that apparently Jody has mutual friends with Marcus Jordan. We thought we weren't going to see him anymore. We're not seeing him anymore, but dang, he was all over this first episode without being on the show. Because apparently Larsa and Marcus, they broke up. Well, we know that now. We know they're broken up. But like at the time when this was filmed, this is when that happened. But this is like the breakup, the one where they're not back together. Like it's done. And Lisa, and apparently, according to Larsa, Marcus has been saying horrible things about her, which I believe that. And just kind of been like going off on her. Again, I believe that. And just been crazy. And I believe that. Considering some of the things that we've seen in recent, I would say the past 6 months with him, actually the past year, Summer Olympics on. Yeah. Larsa breaking up was probably, whether you believe that relationship to be real or not, it needed to end. I mean, even if it was just a business relationship, which partially I thought it was just a business relationship, it needed to end because he was not good for business. That Jordan name can only get you so far. His behavior was so deplorable, and even the times when he was on reality TV, he's not likable at all. He definitely comes off as a very self-entitled Nepo baby. And I hate that for us. I really do. I hate that for us. And I'm pretty sure Michael Jordan don't like it either. But anyway, I digress. So apparently though, Jody and Marcus have mutual friends. And so they ran into each other at like a dinner, and apparently Jody went out to dinner with his friends, which also happens to be Marcus' mutual friends, and they took a picture together, and this is after the breakup. And Larsa is upset that Lisa can't control her man, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, Marisol and Alexia, they're traditional Latina women. So they agree with Lisa. I mean, they agree with Larsa. I do, but I don't. Because Lisa said, I didn't do anything wrong. She's like, look, I didn't meet up with them. I actually left. As soon as I found out that that's what we were doing, I got myself out of the situation. Now, I think what needed to happen, and we'll get into it more because this is not the end of it, but I think just really what needs to happen here, or the way, because I would say both of them are not handling this properly. But, well, Lisa and Larsa, they are very immature adults. They're teenagers that are adults, that present as adults. So their mindset of how they handle conflict and things like that is very childish and very non-adult-like. Lisa, and both Lisa and Larsa are very self-absorbed. So when they call each other out on being self-absorbed, it's like, well, that's why y'all are friends, though, because y'all both are self-absorbed. But that's also the reason why they're going to have a problem once they're no longer on the same side of history, is because they're both self-absorbed. That's kind of what it is. Like, you guys are both kind of shallow people that are friends. You know? Except for Lisa does have elements about her that can be forgiven. Larsa, her likability just has never been there. Just because, you know, she's an infamous person, you know, and there's more history, backstory to why, about her, you know, not being the best person. You know, her affiliations with the Kardashians, how that didn't work out anymore. Her and Scotty. And then going to date the teammate thinking that was going to work out okay. Well, the teammate's son. That Scotty don't even like the teammate to begin with for you to be dating the son. Child's a whole mess. But anyway, I got sidetracked, but this is kind of going to be the highlight of this episode, one of the main beats of this episode, and possibly the season. I feel like we already have two major story beats going on, just introduced just right off the bat. But Miami is good for that. You're going to have so many stories to kind of follow that you're not going to be bored. So let's move on to the next. All right. So then from there, we see Julia with her wife, Martina. And we found out that they did get approved for the adoption, and they didn't adopt just one boy, but 2 boys. And that's what they're doing. So they have the 2 children, and Julia is just very happy about it, very elated about it. And Julia this season is coming to her own, but I think she's coming to her own as a villain. We saw little bits of it last season where she started to be like a bone carrier. And this season, I think we're going to see full throttle. Because one thing that has been very noticeable is that she is hanging out a lot more with Alexia and Marisol. And if you know the history, Alexia and Marisol do not get along with Adriana, and Adriana was Julia's girl leading up to them being on the show. And the fact that she switched sides, we're going to hear more about that. And they're close friends, so we're going to hear more about that. I'm sure that's this season, so that's going to be one major story beat that we get with Julia this time around. And then also, too, we find out in this scene that her and Gertie has something going on right now. And I don't know why her and Gertie would have something going on, but apparently they do. So basically, when she was sharing the story, sharing the news with the ladies on the Zoom call, everyone was able to join the call but Kiki and Gertie. So with Kiki, I think it was something where like she had conflict with one of her children, so she wasn't able to join the call at all. And then with Gertie, she tried, but like the link wasn't working as expected because apparently she had a previous appointment and she wasn't able to get in. And she kept Gertie was trying to reach out to like Julia and say, hey, I can't get in. And Julia was being kind of funny and weird about it. It was like, oh, don't worry about it. You'll find out when everyone else. And Gertie felt a way about that. And so fast forward, when she finally did get the news, she was like, congratulations on the 2 children. And she said it very dryly. So Julia's upset with how Gertie handled it, getting the news. But we find out later on in this episode that Gertie's upset with how she handled all of that leading up to it. And that's why she gave kind of the dry congratulations. And also, too, I don't think it was as dry as what she was saying, honestly. Because Gertie, to me, does not come off as a passive-aggressive girl. She's very upfront. I think Julia's putting some stank on it. And we'll get into it a little bit later on. Because she tried to put some stank on something else later on this episode. And Julia, you're on the wrong side of history. Because I'm always going to be the side of Gertie. I'm sorry. Not sorry. I'm almost always going to take up for Gertie on this show. Almost always. There's some few exceptions, but for the most part, that's the girl. That's the homie. So yeah, no. I got my good eye on you, and the fact that you were able to flip-flop from one side to the other, I got my good eye on you because you can't be trusted. Anyway, moving on. All right, so next we see Jody and Lisa. They're at the rental. They actually end up getting a rental property together, and it looks really cute, and definitely has Lisa's touch to it. Because remember before, when she was still in that hell of trying to get through a divorce, she was just staying at Jody's place, and it was definitely Jody's place because it was very masculine looking. This is definitely more airy, very much more feminine. And then, of course, when Lisa's describing how this place is so much better than her old place, the old place was just too big. It was just too big. This is a little bit more quaint. And, like, Jody calls out, like, this is 6,000 square feet. What are we talking about? And, like, this is why we love, but we also do not love Lisa at the same time because she's kind of dense. And she does this kind of behavior sometimes when the timing ain't timing because given the circumstance, it can be funny, and then there's other times where it comes off as entitled. This I kind of found funny. It was no harm to what she was doing here. But we saw last season she was coming off entitled when it came to a lot of the things she had going on. But anyway, so she's just talking about getting ready for the party and also talking about how they're basically talking about the aftermath of the divorce. and how now she's joint custody of the children, so she doesn't have the children all the time. So in this scene, the children are not there. The children are with Lenny, and she's like, it's an adjustment, but at the end of the day, that's just the cards were dealt with at the time. But I will say this, Lisa does seem a lot happier. She seems so much happier. And so I think this version of Lisa that we get this season, I don't think we're gonna dislike it as much. I think last season it was a lot. I think this season we're gonna like what we see. I so far am liking what I'm seeing with Lisa. I like the glow up. I'm for it. But anyway, they talk about the birthday, and she's like, "We're not. Marcus isn't coming, is he?" And like Joey's like, "Absolutely not. No, my friends will come, but he is not able to come." He's like, "I don't want the drama. I'm not really here for all that. Let's keep it cute." And I believe Jody. I don't think Jody is the type who really wants all that extra stuff there. He does. Clearly, it seems like he wants to be on TV, but I don't think he wants to be that kind of person on TV. In my personal. Larsa, on the other hand, I mean, if you saw some of the season previews, I feel like Larsa's trying to present a different story about Jody, but Larsa's miserable. This is what miserable trolls like Larsa do. But the show would not be watchable. It would be so boring if a Larsa wasn't on this show. So she's a necessary evil. That's why traders actually worked for her when she was on there. I actually wanted her to go far on that show, and I think because Marcus was on the show, she didn't get as far. I think it was just her on the show. I think she would have went much further along, but neither here nor there. I digress. I was trying to give Larsa some credit. But speaking of Larsa, let's get into what happens next here. So we then see Larsa with her mom, and she's basically talking about the breakup. But before she's talking about the breakup, she's talking about how her parents usually, whenever they do come to visit her in Miami, they usually are there for a good, I think she said 3 months or something like that. They're there for a while because her family still lives in Chicago. Yeah, for how much I talk so much crap about Larsa, you would think I would talk differently about her because she's, lives in Chicago, or, she's from Chicago. But I was like, no. Larsa's annoying. Larsa is Larsa. But anyway, she is just talking and venting about her whole entire breakup with Marcus and how it's been humiliating the way he's been. And we find out that, what contributed to the breakup definitely, and for her to stay broken up, had a lot to do with basically Marcus's erratic behavior. And this is one of those times I was like, even if it was a business relationship, which again, I think this was a business breakup and not a relationship breakup. That's just me. I just never believed their relationship all the way. But if it's a business breakup, Marcus is still going to be mad because that's less money. That's less money in his pockets, right? But I do believe Larsa when she says that he was erratic. I mean, it was caught on TMZ during the Summer Olympics of him having strawberries and the snow first thing in the morning. And y'all know what that is. He had DUI recently with him having the stuff on him and wrecking a Lamborghini and having it wrecked on the railroad tracks with a snow bunny. He had the snow with the snow bunny. Cause I'm sure Michael Jordan's like, damn, he's such a disappointment. I mean, Jesus. But you think Larsa was going to stick around for that train wreck of a person? Absolutely not. You knew she was not going to do that. So while this is happening, though, we go back to Lisa talking with Jody, and we find out that Lisa, while Lisa's talking to Jody about Larsa and everything, She gets news that her dad's health is declining. And we found out that she actually reconciled with her dad fairly recently after everything happened with Lenny, because we found out last season that throughout her whole entire marriage with Lenny forced her to cut off her whole entire family, so she didn't have any contact with any of her family members up until the divorce. But with the dad, she already wasn't talking to the dad because it also her dad contributed to her leaving the home early in her adult life. And I think she was 16 or 17 she left home because of like the tumultuous relationship that she had with her dad, and her dad being like, I guess he was an alcoholic. He has problems, he has issues. But she has recently reconciled with her dad during the time off, and now he's not doing so well. So that's the news that she got. Hopefully we get more information about that. But again, you already hear that I mentioned how much story is here. And compare that to Atlanta. I haven't even went over everyone else's story yet. There's still other cast members to go over. Including we're getting a new Housewives some point in time during the season too. So, because this is the other thing that's really, really cool about the Real Housewives of Miami. For those who don't watch it, who need to watch it, the friend ofs, I know coin-wise are probably not getting paid as, the same way as a full-time, but they get treated like the full-timers on Real Housewives of Miami. So it's just one giant cast. They don't get treated as a friend of. And really, even I think the last reunion, they were on the reunion. All of them were on the reunion couch the whole entire time. Like, they don't get treated like a friend of at all for the Real Housewives of Miami, because they all have a role, they all have story, they all have something going on. And they're all just full of life. So it's really, really cool. But anyway, let's move on. So next we see Kiki's on a yacht, and Gertie goes and meets her there. And so I'm like, yes! My Haitian sisters. I'm not Haitian, but melanin. So I'm just like, you know me, I'm going to cheer for everyone melanin. So I'm like, yes! Yes, diaspora. Ugh, love it. Anyway, so they're hanging out. And Gertie's talking about how she's gained 30 pounds since basically the cancer of it all. And she mentioned how much rounds of chemo she had to do and how much, radiation, everything. And this is even a little bit, I guess, after like her becoming like, it going into remission. She's like, yeah, I'm dealing with the aftermath of the cancer right now. Just because they say you're in remission, the work isn't done. Like, apparently she had to get another, snip of like the breasts. It's still not quite the way it needs to be. But she's looking thick and cute. And apparently she got lipo. She's like, yeah, I had to get lipo. And so basically Gertie's adjusting to her new body. And also she's trying to adjust to what life is like now with her husband, along with her kids. Because her husband did his big one during the whole entire time with her having the cancer, being the caretaker. She's like, I'm going to need you to get back to just being my partner. I don't want you to feel like you have to still be my caretaker. And that's a real conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing what else happens with that, just because that is something it's so real. It's so real. I've always been curious about that, even when it comes to because for those who don't know, my sister has had breast cancer, and then she had another cancer fairly recently, and both of them are on the other side of it. Like, she's in remission for both right now. Thank you, Jesus. But it's just a lot to hear what has to happen there and what does happen there. And what kind of adjustments need to be had. Fortunately, with my sister, the support system was supporting. And I mean, my brother-in-law is similar to Russell, Gertie's husband. He's a ride or die. So we had no worries there. And then my dad, he's freshly retired. He's been retired, I think, for like 2 years now. So my dad was like flying, down constantly to make sure everything is everything. So there's that. But anyway, yeah. So basically, Adriana does end up joining the ladies, and Adriana looks so much happier. She looks so much happier. I think we're gonna get a good, fun Adriana this season. Past 2 seasons, last season wasn't bad. It was the season before where I was like, girl, you lost the plot. Because Adriana sometimes just does too much. That's her problem. She has a tendency of doing too much. But this time around, I think she's happier. And last season, at least she did openly admit that she was not happy. And that's why she was acting the way she was acting. So that's one thing about her. You're going to get transparency with her. But anyway, Kiki mentions that, she, her son, her oldest son is now just graduated, I want to say high school, is going to college. And so she's excited about that. And then the man that she was dating since the reunion, they broken up. And turned out that dude was married. And now that he's no longer with or had a girlfriend or something the whole entire time. And now that he broke up with a girlfriend, now he wants to try to get back with Kiki. And Kiki's like, nah. But of course, the way Kiki said it, you were laughing. Kiki, no pun intended, is a good Kiki. She's so fun. And then Adrienne mentions, starts talking about her French man. And child, she loves that French man. The way she was about to make a P, you could fill in the blank, a corno. She was making a corno at borderline making corn at the freaking at the party. Just the PDA was PDAing. It was like, girl, get off this man, let him breathe. But he was fine. But yeah, she's happy. She got her French man. And I think Gertie was like, isn't this like your second or third French dude? She's like, I have a pattern. I hear you. If y'all see my recent dating types, I have a pattern as well. For the most part. Kinda. Not really. Now if you think about it, I think most of my friends find me funny when it comes to my dating, because my dating doesn't. It's United Nations over here. You just never know who I'm going to end up being with, or who I end up being, not with. You just never know with me. Anyway, so they do start talking about Alexia, and Adriana is giving her grace to try to give her support. She's like, now I'm on the other side of it. I think also because she's happier now. She's like, yeah, I do wish the best for Alexia. And if she needs a friend to talk to, she could talk to me. And both Gertie and Kiki were just like, and they, of course, they reeled the footage of last season about how much cash-ish that Adriana was talking about their relationship. Gertie was like, girl, I don't think she's going to come to you, but that's nice that you would say that. And of course, they get a good laugh out of that, and that's that on that. Let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so next we have Alexia and Larsa meeting up together, and they're basically talking about everything's going on. So Larsa's talking about how she's not really happy with everything that's going on with Lisa and her because of how she's acting and how she thinks it's okay to be, still associating with her ex, even though Larsa's the reason why they even know him and all this, that, and this. And of course, Alexia is agreeing with Larsa on this. Because they're kind of a lot alike, Alexia and Larsa. And then also Larsa's kind of side-eyeing Alexia, because Alexia is like, yeah, no, I'm married. Because all throughout this episode, no lie, they were trying to hook her up with someone else. And she's like, no, I'm married. And she's like, but you're, yeah. I see why you and Teresa are friends, Alexia. Y'all are allowed to lie. And she's like, no. She's like, but I still love him. And that's real. I do agree with that. She's like, I still love the man. I know he did something pretty messed up, but I still love him. So they're just, they're playing with each other's hearts right now because they're still entertaining each other, clearly. So that's what's going on there. And Larsa's like, girl, be careful. She's like, really, I think it's better to be alone than to be with someone with saggy balls. I got what Larsa was saying. Because one thing about Larsa that I do like about her on this show is she is a preach, we don't need a man. I don't need a man preacher on this show. And I'm part of that same club. Don't need a man. Don't want a man. Well, I like a man. I don't know. you get the gist. Like, she's very much, you don't need him. It's fine. Just be done with it. And so Larsa's just like, kind of just like, be careful. And Larsa's kind of sighing her, like, not you talking all this ish, and then like, now you want to be back with him. But honestly, this is why I kind of agree with Lisa. Because you will have some women or some people that do all that and they turn around and get back with the man, and now you look crazy for taking up too much for your girl, and they're good now, and now they ice you out because you were trying to be the supportive friend. I would be a very rich person for how many times that has happened. Like, one of my last roommate, that's why we're not even cool anymore, because it was that kind of a thing. She was talking all this ish just to turn around and get back with the dude. Now she's about to marry the man. So I was kind of like, why'd you bring me in the chat if y'all were going to like turn around and get back together? Because if you want me to ride for you, I'll ride for you. But like, don't do that and then turn around and get back with them. And Lisa, a lot throughout this episode, was basically saying that. She's like, y'all have broken up and gotten back together multiple times, so I didn't know if this was like the time that you're really done or if you're going to go back with him. So I'm going to proceed with caution. I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not going to reach out to him or anything, but I'm also not going to do the whole full cutoff for you to turn around and be like, I'm with him again. Like, it's just not a win-win situation. So I do agree with Lisa when it comes to this. I don't think Lisa was being that selfish or self-absorbed at all, honestly. I think she was just like, I can't read your mind, so therefore I don't know. And Larsa's whole point throughout this episode is like, but you could have called me to talk to me about that. And apparently Lisa doesn't call or talk to anyone. Because one thing that we found out last season is Lisa's kind of self-absorbed and she's in her own world. And apparently, and I feel like Larsa felt that way about her last season, that those cracks in the friendship was already forming last season of how she was behaving. And I think it's now reeling its ugly head even more now. Cause she's like, why is it that we always have to be the ones reaching out to you? But like, if y'all know that's that type of friend that she is, you should just move accordingly. Because to me, I feel like if Lisa, to me, it seems like Lisa has always been like that. Because one thing about these women is, a lot of these women, because Larsa, Lisa, Adriana, Alexia, and Marisol, they're the OG women of Real Housewives of Miami. So they've known each other for, I think, 10 plus years. So, they know each other's behaviors and patterns. And especially Lisa and Larsa, because I think they've been close friends the whole entire time. Similar to like Marisol and Alexia. They've always been like the two thickest thieves type. So it's just kind of like, I don't know why there's a shocker here. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to the party and wrap up this episode. Because I've been talking y'all ears off, but I already told you a lot happened this episode. This was a very explosive first episode. So yeah. All right. So now we're at Jody's party, and apparently the party is like classic Hollywood. I didn't really see the pattern so much. I think really the only one that kind of gave like a classic Hollywood look when it came to the hair was Gertie. The outfit, girl, you just wanted to show body, which I'm not mad at that. That body is bodying. So I don't even know what she was complaining about in the previous episode. I skipped ahead. But girl, you look good. I just have to say it. You look good, girl. You look good. The wig, Did love the wig, but whatever. It's fine. That body was bodying. That body is tea. But really everyone else though when it came to the party, they basically all either had red, black, or white on. I noticed. Actually it was red, really red or black. I think Lisa was the only one that had white on. There was a couple people that had white on, but like I think that was really the theme, really. And everyone looked good. Cause that's one thing about the Real Housewives of Miami. Everyone's bodies look amazing. No one be looking crazy. I feel like everyone be looking good. Minus Julia. Julia be at times be just like, what girl are you wearing? But like everyone else though, it's tea. So all the women show up. And then some of the men show up. So Marisol shows up with Steve. I think that's her partner's name. Alexia, no, not Alexia. Wow, Adriana shows up with that French man. They said his name, but I don't remember the French man. We're just gonna call him French man because he was fine, tall and fine. And who else showed up with somebody? Oh, Julia and Martina. Yeah. So really, everyone else showed up just with themselves. But everybody else though has somebody, and they showed up. And Julia and Adriana. So basically, Julia's at the party, and she's being awkward and weird because she's not really talking to Adriana. We don't know what happened there, but according to Julia, Julia is not aware of what happened there. Whereas Adriana's like, no, I know exactly what that happened there. Because Adriana called out last season, it's like, you're getting close to them, but you're icing me out. Like, it's giving, you're strategizing for the show, and you don't care about the friendship anymore. And that's why I'm like, Julia, girl, you playing a dirty game. And also, Gertie was like, hey, how's the baby? And Martina kind of gave her a dry answer. She's like, what was that? And then I think she tried to talk to Julia again. Well, actually, she tried to talk to Martina to try and get to the bottom of it. She's like, I'm not going to do this here at this party, but I need to figure out what's going on. And Martina was just like, kind of like, yeah, no, I don't know what's going on between y'all. But like, she said that you kind of gave a dry answer. She's like, well, no, I was just kind of hurt that like I tried to join the Zoom and I was having issues with it. And she just kind of was like, don't worry about it. And she's like, you'll find out with everyone else. And to me, that sounds like that sounds like that's what really happened. And Gertie's just kind of like, what is that? And I think Gertie's especially hurt because remember last season, Martina and Julia were the safe landing for her when she got diagnosed with cancer. Because while Gertie had her cancer battles going on the same time Martina had her cancer battles, so they were basically supporting each other and helping each other out. All for like Julia to kind of like, basically to me, I feel like she's manufacturing beef for the show. Because I don't see why things changed. I think she's doing it strategically because Dr. Nicole's no longer on the show. And this show doesn't really have alliances, but kind of had alliances here. You kind of saw the cliques. So the cliques on the show prior to this season, you had the Cuban dolls, which were never going anywhere. They're kind of like the face of the show. And Larsa, usually leans on that side of things. Lisa's kind of like the floater between the two groups for the most part. Kiki, since she's a friend of, but she's friends mainly with Larsa, so she's on that side over there. But Gertie had her issue with Larsa, so she was on the other side. Dr. Nicole had her issues with the Cuban doll, so she was on this side. And then Adriana had her issues with, Marisol and Alexia, so she was on that side. And Julia was kind of on that side by default because she was friends with Adriana. But like, really, if you look at the dynamic there, it was like the new girls and the OGs. So that's why I'm really, really looking at Julia like, girl. I think she's gonna be the villain. I think she's gonna be a villain this season. But she needed a storyline because there's a couple seasons. I think the first 2 seasons, I was like, why is she here? So now at least we're gonna have something. So I just hopefully she's not manufacturing beef too much, because I feel like this Gertie situation, girl, this feels manufactured. But I'm gonna leave it alone. Let's finish up with the rest of the things going on at the party. So Larsa shows up, and once Larsa shows up, she gets right into it. She's like, I need to talk to Lisa and need to talk to Jody, because she's still mad. She's still mad about the whole Marcus situation. And she talks to Jody, and Jody's like, look, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Wherever you want to do is wherever you want to do with it. Which, ironically, he has more to do with it than even, like, Lisa does. Because Lisa didn't do anything wrong. It was really Jody that she's mad at. But she's mad that Lisa did not control her man. And I'm like, since when do you control a man? See, this is why you ain't got a man, Larsa. Sorry. I just had to do it. That's why she ain't got one, though. It's true. It's true. Is this why you date the younger guys? So you can control them? Is that what that is? I don't know. But anyway. Child, so basically, and then the other things going on, Adriana and her man are just making out this whole entire time. That is their whole entire thing. They're just on the couch making out. They don't care about anything else that's going on. And they just keep showing them just making out on the couch while all this other stuff is going on. And then Larsa and Lisa, they try to talk it out. And Larsa gets disrespectful very quickly, because she always does. And she messed around and called Lisa a bitch in her home. And Lisa and me, girl, we're the same. If you don't get out of my house, and then the Cuban dolls were like, no, don't do that. Don't kick her out. That's mean. No, you cross the line once you disrespect me in my home. You don't get to disrespect me in my home when I have a get together. Are you be so for real? Yeah, no, I was on the side of Lisa, but like it was weird that like the OGs, and of course Julia, she's following them, so whatever they're doing, she's doing now. So she was over there like, oh my god, why would she do that? Why would she kick her out? And then Larsa goes and like starts crying, stuff like that, being a victim, because Larsa the whole entire time when she's trying to like go off on Lisa, she's trying to do a comparison with like, how would you feel if I hung out with Lenny? And it's like, girl, she was with Lenny for 15 years with 2 children. Marcus, you were there. You were with him for a year and a half, and we don't even know if that relationship was real or not. I think it was a business relationship. Again, I am standing on that was a business relationship. I don't think that was a real relationship at all, because you're not Marcus's type. Let's be so for real. The girls, I ain't gonna call them women. The girls he's been caught with, and you, seasoned as you are, not the same. He no. You ain't his type. Anyway. Yeah. So no, absolutely not. And so basically, Lisa, so basically after Kiki runs after Larsa to try to get her together, and she's crying, but I still ain't seen no tears every time Larsa cries. I still ain't seen no tears. Still ain't seen them. And so she goes back. But Kiki claims she's seeing him, she's doing the ugly cry. But to me, all I see is her just going, like, that's it. And her allergies might be bothering her. That's probably why that's happening. I don't know. But she basically then goes, so they basically go back to, I'm trying to think. Oh, she goes back to, talk to Lisa, try to patch things up. And then she doubles down and starts calling her, calling her a victim. She's like, you're acting like such a victim right now. This, that, and this, and that. She's like, I was there for you when you were going in your lowest with Lenny. It's like, dude, again, they do not compare. And even Gertie in her confessional, she's like, I know this lady is not trying to compare her fake relationship to a 15-year-old long marriage that ended horribly with children. They're not the same. I was like, that part, they're not the same. Gertie was like on Lisa's side with it, which thank God. I was like, child, because everyone else was just like kind of coddling Larsa because they felt bad that she was about to get kicked out of the party. She's like, you're humiliating her by getting kicked out. And Larsa, you humiliating the host by cussing her out. Where, in what world can you cuss out the host of a party and think you're still going to be at the party afterwards? And one thing that I will say, though, Alexia did have some sense a little bit here. She's like, the way them two talk to each other, and they're supposed to be best friends, yikes. And I was like, that part. Because I'll be damned if a friend talks to me like that ever. And actually, you know what? I had a friend do that to me one time, literally do a Larsa, and we aren't friends anymore. That's how quick I cut that off. I was like, you get one time to disrespect me in my house and you will never see me again. And they don't exist in my world. Just like that. Thanos. Play with your mama. Don't play with me. Child. Anyway, so the episode ends with Larsa getting kicked out of the party again because after she did it again, she's like, girl, get out of my house. Because she called her a B again. She's like, if you don't get out of my house. And Larsa was still just there. She was not leaving right away. And Lisa was like, I am about to call security. You better get out of the house. You can tell Lisa was like, if you don't get out, I'm going to get someone else to get you out. Get out of my house. I was like, clock it. And I like that kind of energy from Lisa. Lisa doing her big one, and she's on the right side of history. I think what annoyed me last season was she was just so self-absorbed about it. This time, she was selfish, but like it wasn't self-absorbed. She was standing on business. Like, she really, to me, I don't think she did anything wrong. I think this is Larsa's storyline. Because Larsa ain't really got anything going on for real. But Larsa's good for manufacturing a storyline. That's just what she does. But it's fine. It's good TV. As long as it's not too obvious, which it kind of is, but that's why she's a villain of the show. It's fine. But anyway, that does conclude this episode of Real Housewives of Miami. As you could tell, I enjoy the episode. I kind of want to go back and watch it again. I might watch it again this weekend. But yeah, I think we're in for a good treat this season. And I'm excited to see the rest of the season. And my favorite show is back on TV. For those who don't know, this is actually the franchise that got me into wanting to review Real Housewives. This is the one. I love me some Real Housewives of Miami. It's my show. But anyway, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And I will see you next time. Bye.